Hello students, today we're doing Inquiry 6.5 where we will be analyzing our weather data. We'll be using our weather data that we gathered all week on Inquiry 6.3 to create graphs and look closely and analyze our weather data. Let's go back for a moment and look at our 6.3 chart where we've been keeping track of our weather. Okay, all week long we've been keeping track of the high and low temperatures, the relative humidity, the barometric pressure, the peak wind speed, the total precipitation, cloud cover, and any other weather facts that we thought were relevant. If you'll look, we've been collecting our data all week. Today we'll collect day 5 before we prepare our graphs, so make sure you've done that first. Collect your data for day 5. Now, once you've collected day 5's data on 6.3, you can now prepare your graphs. Now, for those of you at home, I'm going to go through all of the graphs and show you how to set them up, and then you can decide which one that you would like to do. You only have to do one for those of you at home. Those of you that are at school that will be doing this activity, you will be working in groups where you will only do one of the graphs. So some groups will do graph 1 for barometric pressure, some will do graph 2 or graph 3 or graph 4 or so forth. Okay, let's start out with graph 1 for barometric pressure. This graph is going to be a line graph. I'm going to zoom out a little bit more where you can see more of the graph. I first prepared the x-axis with the days of the week. We did 5 days this week, so day 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And I spread those out about 8 blocks apiece. It doesn't have to be exact, but please try to space them out evenly. And then on the y-axis, we have barometric pressure in inches. And as you can see, I went from 26.5 up to 33, and I spaced those out by 0.5, like for example, 26.5, 27, 27.5, 28, and so forth. This should be a sufficient scale for us to use for barometric pressure. Now, I'm only going to be plotting days 1 through 4 because we don't have day 5 yet. So for day 1, if you go back and look at your data table, the barometric pressure for day 1 was 30.17. So I'm going to use the Shapes tool, and I'm going to just pick a bright color. I think I will use pink for this. And I'm going to do circles and do pink. Okay, and I need to, let me try this out. Line thickness is on a 1. That should be okay. So at day 1, I'm going to go up to where 30.17 about would be. So just a little above 30, and plot my dot. Sorry, I used the wrong tool, so let me fix that. I'm going to use the drawing tool, and I'm going to change my stroke thickness to be about an 8. There we go. Now this should work. I'm going to go up to where day 1 meets 30.17 and plot my dot. Okay, perfect. Now day 2, the barometric pressure was about 30.14. It's around the same area. Day 3, our barometric pressure was 30.13. Day 4, our barometric pressure was 29.92. So it's going to be just a little bit lower. Okay, now once you had all 5 days, you can use the Shapes tool choose the line, and you can connect your dots. Okay, and then we would continue on to day 5 when you have that data. Okay, I'm going to scroll on down to the next graph, relative humidity. If you choose to create this graph, again, you'll put day across the x-axis, and you'll put the relative humidity percentages on the y-axis. And I've used a scale from 0 to 100 for our percentages. Okay, I'm going to go to my drawing tool, and how about let's use blue this time. So for day 1, my relative humidity was about 65%. Okay, my relative humidity on day 2 was 38%. Okay, my relative humidity on day 3 was 29%. My relative humidity on day 4 was 36%. Okay, and then of course I'd have day 5's data after I collected that. So I'm going to click Shapes and use the line, Insert Line tool to connect my dots. Oops, I forgot to change color. Let's use blue. Okay, so you can see the majority of that graph. We just need to add day 5. Okay, let's scroll on down. If you were going to do the peak wind speed graph, again, you put day on the x-axis, and we're going to have wind speed on the y-axis, and it's in miles per hour. And we just used a scale of counting by 2s up to at least 24 or so should be fine. I don't think we'll have any wind gusts of more than 24 miles per hour this week. So I'm going to use pink again. I'm going to stick to my pink and blue color, but you can use whatever color you would like. Day 1 for wind speed was 14 miles per hour. Day 2 was the peak was 15 miles per hour. Day 3, the peak was 10 miles per hour. Day 4 was also 10 miles per hour. And of course, you would need day 5's data. So I'm using my shapes, insert line, change back to my color, and connect the dots. Okay. And then you would need to add day 5 to that data. Okay. If you choose to do the total precipitation, again, we put the day on the x-axis, and we put total precipitation in inches on the y-axis, and we went from 0 to 24 inches, and we counted by 2s. Okay, for precipitation, I'm going to use blue. I'm going to use the drawing tool to make my dots. Okay, for day 1, we had 0. Day 2, we had 0. Day 3, we had 0. And day 4, we had 0. We should have maybe a little bit more for day 5, but we'll have to wait and see. Okay, for shapes, we would connect our dots. Okay, that was pretty easy because we have not had any precipitation much until Thursday night. And then lastly, this time we're going to make a bar graph for the high and low temperatures. We still have our day on the x-axis, and we're going to have our temperatures in Fahrenheit degrees on the y-axis. I've already done day 1 for us, and this time I used the markup tool and used the box highlighter. I'm using, again, pink. This time I'm using pink for the high temperature and blue for the low temperature. So I'm ready to plot day 2's. So I'm going to switch to pink. And for day 2, if I look at my chart, my high was 48. So if you're just using this box highlighter, you can just line up your cursor to fill in the blocks until you get up to your desired temperature. Now I would just keep going up to 48, and then I would switch over to blue and do my column, my bar for the low temperature. And I do that for the rest of the days also. Okay, if you have any questions about the graphs, please make sure you message me and let me know. Once you finish your one graph that you're going to do, then you need to open your online textbook and go to page 106 where you will do the analysis questions. Okay, so I've already got my book tab open right here. When I go to the online textbook, it's page 106 on the book, but on the blue slider, it's page 124. And if you look at this page, if you go to procedure step number 4, you see you have question A, question B, and then questions C, D, and E. And you will use your weather data, your graphs, to help you answer this information. What we're looking for is any relationships between the data. I will post some pictures of our completed graphs on the assignment page, and that might be helpful to you. Again, if you have any questions, please make sure you message me, and I hope you have a great day.